Let me do that again. Hello, and welcome to Thrive Online. Today we're going to do what I like to call a beginner's Ashtanga yoga. So if you're new to Ashtanga yoga, or if you don't even know what that is, we're going to do a little bitty sneak peek of what is basically almost the first half of the primary series of Ashtanga. There are technically 6 series in 6 set of postures in the Ashtanga yoga sequence, and we are going to do what is known as the standing sequence in the first few postures of the primary series. So when you're ready, let's get started. We're going to meet at the top of the mat with the toes together, heels slightly apart. Remember, let's draw the belly button to spine and lengthen down through the tailbone. You might have to soften your knees ever so slightly because otherwise you'll be locking them out, and that's not great for your low back. So soften the knees, lengthen through the tailbone, and draw that belly button to spine. In yoga, that belly button to spine action is called Uddiyana Bandha. Those bandhas are important to help protect the low back. So you might hear me say Uddiyana Bandha or belly button to spine a lot. That is so that you can make sure that these stomach muscles are strong and the back is protected. Here we are in mountain pose. In Ashtanga yoga, this is called Samastitihi. Your hands are relaxed down to the side, palms facing forward. The crown of the head is reaching up high to the sky, and the shoulders are pulling down and away from the ears. Be careful that when you pull those shoulders down, you don't stick your bottom out. I tend to do that. So keep that tailbone lengthened down, pull the shoulders down and away from the ears. That space between the blades. That's a little bit of rhomboid and trap action. A little extra credit for it. So in Ashtanga yoga, you warm up with 5 sun salutations, 5 sun A's. We're going to get started. Inhale, bring your hands up and overhead, make them clasp. Maybe they touch overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, belly stays in. Exhale, plant your hands, walk your feet out to high plank. You can come down to your knees if you'd like, and then come to your low plank. This is called chaturanga. Facing your chest. Exhale into downward facing dog. This is where you raise your hips up, your head comes down, and you gaze towards your belly button. That's called Nabhi Drishti. If that's too much on the neck, you can look in between your legs. Your hands are pressing into the mat, and we'll stay here for another 3 breaths. Remember, you're breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. One more breath. Inhale, look between those hands. On the exhale, walk, step, or jump your feet forward. Pull the shoulders back, halfway lift, bellies in, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, pushing down through those big toes. Come all the way up. Hands reaching up overhead. Maybe they touch. Exhale, hands to your side. Pose. Let's inhale, hands up. Bring the energy up with you. And then on the exhale, send that energy back down into your body maybe. Inhaling, halfway lift, bellies in. Exhale, plant the hands and come to your chaturanga. So you can be up on the toes. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Now if you'll notice, I take a step forward with both of my feet. In Ashtanga, the down dogs are usually a little bit closer than in other lineages like Iyengar. They usually have a slightly longer down dog. You want that heel to touch the mat if you can, so you can bend your knees as much as your hamstrings require. Think about getting the shoulders away from the ears and the gaze towards the belly button. One more breath. Inhaling, let's look between the hands. Exhale, walk, step, jump those feet forward. Pull the shoulders back, inhale. Keep those knees soft. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, push down through the big toes. Be careful with that back, so rounding up. Hands come overhead. And exhale, hands to your side, mountain pose. That's 2. Let's do 3 more. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, forward fold. Always remember, belly in. Inhaling, halfway lift, shoulders back. Exhale, plant the hands, come to your chaturanga. That's that. Exhaling, downward facing dog. 5 long, slow, deep breaths here. Your feet are about hips width distance apart.
Hands are about shoulders width distance apart. Keep that belly in. One more breath. Inhale, let's look between those hands. Exhale it all out. Come forward. Shoulders back, squeeze that space between the shoulders. Inhale, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, let's come all the way up, reaching those hands up to the sky. Exhale, hands to your side, mountain pose. Let's do that again. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, forward fold. Let the head go. Inhale, head comes up, belly in. Exhale, plant the hands. Walk the feet back, high plank. Exhaling, downward facing dog. 5 long, slow, deep ujjayi breaths here. When you're in a lead class, you might hear Dasha, Dirga, Rechika, Purika. That actually means 10 deep inhales and exhales, but we're only doing 5. One more. Inhaling, look up. Exhale, walk those feet forward. Shoulders pull back, inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Maybe the legs are starting to loosen up. Inhaling, come all the way up, reaching for the sky. Exhale, hands to your side, mountain pose. Last one. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, half lift, belly's in. Exhale, plant the hands down. Move through your vinyasa. Exhaling into downward facing dog. Again, take the step forward that you need to get to your down dog. Gazes towards your belly button. In yoga, that's called Nabi Drishti. Your drishti is your gaze. One more. Inhale, look between those hands. Exhale it all out. Come forward. Shoulders back, inhale. Breathe in. And then exhale, forward fold. Pushing down through those big toes. Soften the knees. Pull yourself up. Hands come up wide. Exhale, hands to the side, mountain pose. Now let's do Surya Namaskar B, Sun B. Inhale, pose. Toes together, heels slightly apart. Knees are pressing together. Tailbone's going down and the belly stays in. In Ashtanga Yoga, your hands are reaching up towards the sky. Maybe they're touching overhead. Pull the thumbs back towards the wall behind you to feel a nice stretch. Shoulders, lat muscles, latissimus dorsi. One more inhale here. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Belly's in. Exhale, plant the hands, chaturanga. Downward facing dog. Plant that left heel down to the mat. Right foot comes forward. Toes facing forward. Come into your warrior. Bring the hands wide. Head. Left toes are facing left corner of the mat. Your left forward, left shoulders reaching forward so that your body can be squared off to the front. Right knee is bent a lot. Eventually you'll have a flat thigh. So we can put our coffee in. Exhale, plant the hands down onto the mat, coming up to the toes of that left foot. Pick the right foot up. Meet me in high plank. Go through. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Right heel plants, left foot comes forward, coming into your warrior one on the left. Here, the right toes are facing the front right corner of your mat. Your right hip is reaching forward, tailbone's going down, low belly's in. That left knee is bent a whole bunch, but it's not going out past the toes. Overhead, fingertips, and all come together. Belly's in, chest is proud, gaze is up. One more breath. Exhale, plant your hands down to the mat, up to the toes of that right foot. Left foot comes up, meets at the back of the mat, high plank, low dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. 5 long, slow, deep breaths here. This is your time to catch your breath. If you tend to lock out your elbows, remember to soften the elbows and press down a whole bunch in the thumb and the pointer finger. One more breath. Inhaling, let's look forward. Exhale, let's bring our feet to the top of the mat. Maybe you try to float. Head up, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, let's go back to chair pose. Sit down low, reach up high. They touch and your gaze goes in. Exhale, mountain pose. Good job. We're going to do this 2 more times and we're going to go a little bit faster to really get the heart rate up. So when you're ready, inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, belly's in. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot plants, right foot forward, warrior one. Exhale, coming to your chaturanga. Inhale, downward facing dog. Right heel plants, left foot forward. Inhale, warrior one on the left. Exhale, chaturanga. Exhaling, downward facing dog. 5 long, slow, deep breaths here. Try to get control of your heart rate. This is our warm-up, so you should start to feel a little warmer. One more breath. Inhaling, look between those hands. Exhale, I'll meet everybody at the top of their mat. Pull the shoulders back, inhale, belly's in. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling into your chaturanga, Utkatasana. Belly's in. Exhale, hands to your side, mountain pose. We're going to do that 1 more time. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left heel plants, right foot forward. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, downward facing dog. Right heel plants, left foot forward. Warrior one on the left. Exhale, chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Dasha Dirga Rechika Purika. I guess it'd be more like Pancha Dirga. Pancha's 5. Belly's in. That's that Uddiyana Bandha. Ocean breath. That's that Ujjayi breathing. One more breath. Inhale, look between those hands. Exhale it all out. Come forward. Shoulders back, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling into your chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, mountain pose. Good job. Now we're going to move into Padahastasana, Padagustasana. Hands to your waist. Jump your feet about hips width distance apart. That's about 2 fists, not mat's width. Inhale, head up, belly's in. Softening the knees. Exhale, forward fold. Grab hold of those big toes with your peace fingers, palms facing towards each other. Half lift on that inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Gaze is through the legs or down the tip of the nose. Elbows are out wide. Arms are pulling yourself down. 5 breaths in this pose. Keep the shoulders relaxed and away from the ears. 1 more. Inhale, the head comes up. Exhale, we're going to slide those hands underneath the feet for Padahastasana. Walk those toes all the way up to the wrist. Give your wrist a massage as you pull yourself down here. Let the head hang heavy. One more. Inhaling, head comes up. Maybe the exhale brings your hands to the waist. Soften those knees as you inhale, come all the way up. Jump those feet together, Samasthiti. Now we're going to move into triangle pose. Inhale, big step to the back of the mat. All the toes are now facing the back of the mat. Hips come back. Right hand reaches forward. Maybe it grabs that right big toe. Left hand reaches all the way up for the sky. Belly's in. Gazes towards that left fingertip. If that feels funky in the neck, you can look down. A little yoga secret is to tuck the chin and then move to your edge, looking out the left corner of the eyes. Belly's in for one more inhale. Now, gaze down to that right knee, right toe, bending it slightly. Push yourself up. Turn the toes towards the front. Shift the hips to the back of the mat. Reach the hands towards the front, coming into your triangle pose on the left. Again, you're reaching for that left toe, right hand's reaching up for the sky. Try to stack the right shoulder over the left shoulder. Tailbone lengthens down here, belly's in. If your neck hurts, you can look down, or you can try tucking your chin, looking out the right corner of the eye. That right foot's really active to keep you balanced. One more breath. Nice. Inhaling, softening that left knee. Come all the way up, and then step forward, mountain pose. Now we're going to revolve our triangle. Inhale here, exhale, big step to the back of the mat. Turn all the toes towards the back of the mat. I like to check in with my hips and get them squared. Maybe I adjust my feet a little bit. All my toes facing the back of the mat. Right hip back, left hip forward. Left hand reaches for the back of the mat. It's going to set down on the inside, ultimately the outside of that right foot. Right hand checks in with the hips to make sure they're still square. So that might mean you lift your left hip up a little bit. Then it reaches for the sky, palm facing away from the body. Your gaze can be down here at those left fingertips if your neck feels wonky, or you can be looking up towards the left. Keep pulling that left hip away from your left shoulder, gazing towards the right fingertips. Belly is in. One more breath. Inhaling, softening that right knee, windmill your hands up, over, around. Let's do that on the other side. Right, all the toes are the mat. Left hip comes back, right hand comes forward. Maybe that right hand comes down to the mat on the inside of the left foot. Ultimately, we're going for the outside of that left foot. Left hand is trying to be checking into those hips to make sure they're square. So for me, I had to lift my right hip up a little bit and pull my left hip back a little bit. Left hand reaches for the sky. You can continue to look down if your neck is feeling little weird. Tuck your chin and look up if you've got that mobility in your cervical spine. Push that mat away from you, engaging the shoulders. One more breath. Softening that left knee. Inhale, windmill those hands up and around. Big step to the front of the mat, mountain pose. Now we're coming into extended side angle. Even bigger step to the back of the mat. Right toes are facing the back of the mat. Right knee is working towards a 90-degree angle. You may have to shimmy your legs a little bit wider. Step one, right elbow to that thigh. Reaching the left hand, left thumb from the underarm, shooting it straight out. Step two, we're working that right hand to the outside of that right foot, keeping that left hand reaching forward. Really push that right knee into your right shoulder, right underarm, as we get a nice long stretch here along the left side body. Belly's in and gazes towards your left fingertips. One more. Inhaling, let's come all the way up. And let's do that on the other side. Rotating all the toes towards the left, all the toes towards the front, sinking into that left knee, left elbow connection, right arm shoots straight out from the underarm. That's step one. Step two, bend a little bit more into that left knee and then work the left hand further to the mat. Maybe it touches the mat on the outside of that left foot. Right hand reaches up, over, and around. Really reaching that right hand forward so you can stretch along this right side body. Pressing that left knee into the left underarm. Energy is out through the outsides of that right foot. Belly's in. One more. Inhale, coming up. Big step to the front, mountain pose. Now we're going to twist out our extended side angle. Inhaling here, exhale, big step to the back of the mat. Now I like to often start out with my left knee on the mat. That's going to help me to balance and get the twist a little deeper. Belly stays in a whole bunch. Hands to your heart center, left elbow to the outside of that right thigh. Bring your your fingers back to your chest. Now you can stay right here, or you can bring that left hand to the mat on the outside of that right foot. You can I like to bring my right hand to my hips to check in to see what's going. We're working towards a square-ish hip as you come off of that left knee, maybe. You can stay right here like in a crescent lunge stance with those left heels up, or you can bring the left heels down more like warrior one. Once you've gotten your balance, you can shoot your right hand forward. Your gaze is up towards the right fingertips. Really side of that right knee. One more. That right big toe, push yourself up, over, and let's do that on the other side. Again, I'm going to come down to that right knee. Belly's in a lot with all twist. Remember to engage abdominals. Hands to your heart center, right elbow to the outside of that left knee. Now you can stay right here working the hands into the chest. Looking down makes the balance a little bit easier. Now if you want, you can come up to the crescent lunge feet so your right heel is up. Next step, right heel down, warrior one feet. Maybe the right hand comes down to the mat on the outside of that left foot. Technically, fingertips in line with those toes. Left hand reaches forward, gazes towards those left fingertips. Trying to stack the left on top of the right shoulders and that right shoulder's on top of the left knee. Sink into that left knee a little more. One more. Nice. Inhaling, coming up. Windmilling those hands up, over, around. Big step forward. Pose. Now we're coming into Prasarita Padottanasana. Medium-sized step to the back of the mat. Hands out wide to a T. Inhale. Exhale, hands to the waist. Inhale, head up to prepare. Softening the knees. Rolling yourself down to the mat. Hands in line with the toes. Head places onto the mat in between the hands. Now remember, your anatomy is going to play a part in here, so if you got really long legs, your head may not touch the mat. That's okay. I have short legs and a long torso, so it makes my head come into the ground a little easier. Belly's in and weight towards the toes. Pretend that you're inwardly spiraling those thighs, and you'll feel a nice stretch on the outsides of the glutes. One more breath. Pressing the hands into the mat. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, soften into the knees, hands to the waist. Inhale, come all the way up, leaving your hands at your waist. Inhale, squeeze the shoulders back, head up. Exhale, forward fold. Leave those hands right there at the waist. Squeeze the elbows together as you pull the shoulders and the elbows away from the head. So it's really a good stretch for those traps. Maybe the head comes down to the mat between the hand. What are these? My feet. Body parts. Breathing here. One more. Soften in those knees. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, hands out wide to a T. Exhale, clasp them behind your back. Pull them down and away. Inhale. Maybe you can gaze up. Exhale, forward fold. That head's going to reach for the mat, and the hands are going to reach for the mat. Now, it's okay if your hands don't touch the mat. And also, if you watch, I can bring my hands to the ground if I open up my heels of my hands away from each other. That's not necessarily important. The important part is that you're stretching your shoulders and you're stretching your hamstrings. The hands will get down to the mat maybe one day. It depends on your anatomy. You should feel a nice stretch in the shoulders and across the chest, and of course, along the hamstrings and inner thighs. One more breath. Inhale, soften those knees, pull yourself up. And then releasing the hands. Inhale, hands out wide to a T. Exhale, forward fold. Grabbing hold of the big toes with the peace fingers, head up, inhale. Exhale, I'm going to shoo a friend away. Pull yourself down. So now you've got your peace fingers wrapped around your big toe, elbows are out wide. You should see your biceps really engaged. It's like we've all got tickets to the gun show, right? Show your guns, pull your head down, pull your torso down. Really get a nice and good stretch for the back and the backs of the legs. One more breath. Soften in those knees. Inhaling, bring those hands to the mat to prepare. With those knees bent, hands to the waist, and then roll yourself up. Big step to the front of the mat, mountain pose, or samasthiti. Now we're coming into pyramid pose. Hands behind your back, fingers down or up. Really try to work those fingertips up. It's really great if you work it. Medium-sized step with the back of the mat, and we're going to end up facing the back of the mat. We want to try to square our hips off with both legs being straight. Now that depends on your hamstrings, so if your right knee bends a little, that's okay. With your hips square, tailbone down, belly in, head up for that inhale, exhale, forward fold. Now if you're feeling really wonky with the balance, open up your feet a little wider like railroad tracks. Your gaze is down your nose and your forehead's reaching for the shin. Now a shorter, skinnier step is going to be a little bit less intense of a stretch. I think it's actually a shorter, wider step. A longer, really narrow stance is more difficult for the balance. Soften in that right knee. Inhale, come on up. Rotate the toes towards the left, toes towards the front. Square those hips off again. Lengthen through the tailbone. And then exhale, forward fold. So remember, each side is different. So you can't get down as low on one side as the other. That's okay. When you learn the sequence, you can start to practice these with your breath, and you actually hang out on the harder side a little bit longer. You know, 10, 50 breaths. If you do a pose for 50 breaths, you know the pose. Soften in that left knee, pull yourself up. Releasing the hands, big step forward. Now coming into the balancing portion of the Ashtanga Yoga standing sequence. This can be very challenging. As we age, more. So let's really start to work on our balance, okay? So we're going to ground down a whole bunch through that left foot. Make sure you're on a surface. The harder the easier. So if you want to step off of your mat, or go into your kitchen where the tile is, go someplace that's flat and hard. It might help with your balance. Step 1, bring your hands to your waist, and then try to maybe find your transverse abdominals. You can find them when you touch your hip bones right here, go 2 fingers in. Now press the belly out into the fingers and see if you can feel those muscles. Those are your transverse abdominal muscles. That's also a good key indicator for your Uddiyana Bandha. So you can bring that belly button to spine and press those muscles into your fingers. That's how you know that that transverse abdominal muscle is engaged. That's the secret to helping you have better balance. Keeping those muscles pressing into the fingertips, left hand to your hips. Pick up that right foot, right knee first. You're going to ground down a whole bunch into that left foot. Maybe you grab hold of that right knee. Right foot is flexed, belly muscles still pressing into the hands, tailbone lengthening down. Chest is proud. Now, if you've got your balance and you're working towards grabbing your big toe, that's the next step. The third step is you extend that right leg out, keep pressing the belly button to spine. All of these, you're working your balance. If you've got your big toe, you forward fold over that right leg. Inhale, if you're forward folding, coming up. Now let's open up the leg to the side. You can do this with your right knee bent, right toes are flexed, or you can do this holding on to that right toe. If you really want to challenge your balance, look over that left shoulder. Now remember, chest is proud and that right hip is down. We're not shooting that right hip up into space. See, that even knocked me off the balance. Oftentimes I'll see this action where you're almost doing a split standing. That's not the pose. We want to have our hips square, legs out to the side. Inhale, bring that right foot forward. maybe play with balancing your head down. Even if you have your knee, you can try to forward fold there. And then come on up on the inhale, let go of that knee or let go of that big toe for 5, 4, holding it up, 3, 2, 1. Let it down, shake it out. That is a killer for the hip flexor, but once the hip flexor gets stronger, you're going to feel that in your abs. It's awesome. A secret here is to really engage your glutes. So let's ground down a whole bunch into that right big toe, right foot. Let me find a flat-ish place on the grass. Remember, we got those 2 fingers pressing into the transverse abdominals to remind us to keep them engaged. If you're like me, as soon as I pick up the leg, this muscle quits working. So it's been a really big struggle for me, especially postpartum, to feel that muscle and keep that muscle engaged. Press that muscle into your fingertips. Try not to lock out the right knee. Right toes are facing forward. Maybe you grab your left knee. If you're going for the toe, try to reach for it on the outside of that left knee. It works your abs a little better. Extending that left leg out, maybe. Or you forward fold. Elbow down to the side of the left shin. Squeeze the right butt cheek. I said that on TV. Inhale, head up. Now we're going to go out to the side with your knee bent, left foot flexed, opening up to the side. Or you can do that same action with your legs straight, opened up to the side. Really trying to keep the hips square. Gaze over the right shoulders if you can. Squeezing the glutes together. Inhale, bring that foot forward. Maybe you play with forward folding. And then come up. Let go of that big toe to the knees and hold it up. Breaths. That's worth. Try not to lean back. We're leaning almost a little forward. It's really standing up straight, but it feels like forward. One more. And then set it down. Hallelujah. That's done. Now we're coming into Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana. It's a really big word. Don't worry about pronouncing it. There's no test at the end of this, no Ashtanga Yoga Police. What we're working towards is foot. So step 1 is you just ground down a whole bunch in that left foot. And since it's balancing, stay off the mat if you'd like. And you're going to cross that right foot over the left. Here I am with a figure 4. This might be exactly where I stay. If you're really working on opening up your hips, you can try to bend forward in this figure 4 position. You'll feel this on the outside of your glutes like it's nobody's business. And maybe it starts to shower grass clippings. Now, keep playing with that. If you want to work towards the half lotus, that right knee up a whole bunch. I have to get the calf muscle out of and bring that right heel up to my belly button. Once the heel's to my belly button, the right knee comes down. This might be right where you stay and you work on your balance. Next step is maybe you play with getting that left elbow. Then, once you've got that left elbow, you can forward fold here. Maybe you come and bring that right hand all the way down, around, grab the right foot behind you, forward fold. Left fingertips in line with the left toes, right hand grabbing the right toe, right heel is pressing into the abdomen. This is the full expression of the pose. Head comes down. Inhaling, pressing the fingers into the mat to halfway lift and prepare. Soften that left knee, pull yourself up, and then let go of that right leg. Shake it out. So now we're going to work on the other side. Again, step 1, grounding down a lot into that right foot. The harder the surface, the easier the balance. Step 2, especially if you're working on opening up your hips and your hammies, is cross that left foot over the right into a nice figure 4. You can fold forward over to this bent left leg, and you can hang out here. You can fall, or you can bend all the way down, grabbing hold of the mat. But that is the most intense for that left glute stretch. If you got that and it's relatively easy, it's not hurting the stretch, you should never feel anything in that left knee. Your next step is to work towards that half lotus. So, right foot straight forward, picking up that left leg. I rotate that calf muscle out of the way, left heel to the belly button, left knee down, or left hand reaches for the left big toe. Either of those, you forward fold. Another little balancing yoga secret is if you snap your fingers when you feel wobbly, it might feel kind of silly when you do it, but for some reason, snapping fingers helps with balance. Holding this here. Now, inhale, head up. Softening that right knee ever so slightly to pull yourself up. Use your glutes to do it, not your back. Set that left leg down. Shake it out. Balance is challenging. Every day is different, but everyday practice. Now we're going to do a vinyasa to come into chair pose, Utkatasana. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, head up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. Downward facing dog. Inhale, look between those hands. Walk, step, jump yourself to the top of the mat. Come straight to chair pose. Toes together, heels apart, bellies in. Hands reaching up high. Maybe gaze to the fingertips. Thumbs pushing towards the back of the mat. One more. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, head up. Exhale, plant the hands, go to your chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Left heel plants, right foot forward, coming into your warrior one. 5 long, slow, deep breaths. Here, work on your left hip forward, left shoulder forward, right knee bent a whole bunch. Hands touching overhead, gazes up. Straightening that right leg, turn towards the left, turn towards the back of the mat, warrior one on the left. Really working that right hip forward, left hip back, left knee bent. One more breath. Good job. Opening up, warrior two. Now both hands parallel to the mat. Left knee is bent a whole bunch. Chest is open towards what is now your right. Tailbone's down. One more. Straighten that left leg, turn it towards the front. Turn the right toes towards the front, right knee bent a lot. Warrior two to the right or on the front. Pull those shoulders down and away from the ears. Coming to the end of our sequence today, rotating those hands down to the mat, up onto the tops of the left foot, pick the right foot up. Looking forward, push yourself forward, chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. We're going to do 3 more poses from the primary series, and then we're going to close up. Inhale, look between your hands. Now in Ashtanga yoga, you'll see lots of people floating. They'll float through. I'll see if I can demonstrate. Knees to your chest. Feet never touch the mat until they're forward and down. That requires a whole bunch of belly strength. And a way that you can work towards that is you just bring your feet up one at a time. Knee to your chest, down. Left knee to your chest, down. Sit down. And then legs extended out in front. Over time, your abdominal muscles will get stronger and you can shoot those knees in. Hanging out here in the seated position, hands on either side of the thighs, belly's in, shoulders down, chest is proud. 5 breaths here in Dandasana. It's a really great opportunity to focus on those abdominal muscles. Next inhale, you release the hands a little bit, and then the exhale, you're going to forward fold. Try to grab hold of your big toes with your peace fingers. If your knees are bent, that's okay. The head up on the pull the shoulders back. Exhale, round yourself down for 5 breaths.
Inhaling, head up. Now we're going to grab the big toes to the top, the big thumbs in front of the big toes. The four fingers are on the outside of the foot, and they're trying to make the foot flat. You're going to feel that on the outsides of the calves probably. Head up for the inhale. Exhale, pull yourself down. Pull the shoulders down and away. Head comes towards your shins. It's rounding forward here, and you don't want to look up. That can really wreak some havoc on that cervical. And if you can, maybe your elbows stay off the mat to keep the muscles engaged a little more. Play with that belly muscle, keeping on pulling to the spine. Inhale, head up. Now the last option, it's the hardest one, it's the bind. We can do this. Your knees can bend a whole bunch if they need to. Your hands wrap around the ends of the feet, and maybe they can grab hold one hand on top of the other. It really doesn't matter which hand grabs which. So belly's in, and then reach and see if you can grab to the outsides of the feet. Remember, your knees can be as bent as they need to be. Your one hand is grabbing the other hand wherever it can. Eventually it'll grab a wrist. Maybe you make a fist. There are mudras that you can do with your hands, but I'm not going to get into that today. Pull those shoulders away. Keep the belly in. Inhale, releasing this. The head comes up. Here's a little bit of a sneaky way to get some ab work in. Press those fingertips into the mat beside the knees. Lift the knees up. Set them down. That's really working on getting the hip flexors a little stronger and the low belly in. Lift them up. Bend the knees. See if you can bring those feet behind the hands. Bring those hands forward, lifting your hips up, transitioning into plank. Inhale, looking forward. Exhale, going down to chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Look between those hands. Maybe you play with jumping through again, or you can bring left foot, right foot, bottom down, feet out in front. Here we're coming into reverse tabletop. So option number one, fingertips facing the hips. Feet are planted on distance. Rotate the lift the hips up. Hips, shoulders, knees all in one line for 5 breaths. 2, the legs stay straight, toes together, heels apart. Hands, upper body, everything stays the same with those shoulders rotating forward. Head lifting up for 5 breaths. Squeeze the butt cheeks, that's the key. And then come on down. Secret little belly move as you lift your feet up, bend the knees into your chest. Shimmy those feet behind the hands. Then maybe you lift your hips up into the air, plant the hands, transition through your vinyasa. Looking between those hands, let's practice our jump through. So for me, I like to bend the knees a whole bunch and get the knees to my chest. That really helps me keep the belly engaged. Look forward. I usually say a quick prayer. Jump forward, knees to chest, shoot the hips back. Now we're working on another Ardha Baddha. Excuse me. Bring that right knee into your chest. Maybe you hug your little shin baby. This requires a lot of open hips. So if you've got really tight hips, maybe you just hang out here loving this shin baby, right? Step 1, figure 4, just like we did standing. And reach forward, grabbing for that left foot. Step 2, you work your half lotus. Again, you'll see that I had to rotate my calf muscle out of the way, working my right heel to my belly button, and then you probably noticed how my right knee shifted forward, right hip shifted forward. If you fold forward with your hips kind of at an angle, that can sometimes wreak havoc on your low back. I know it did for me. Now, right hand reaches around and behind. That left hand's grabbing hold of the right foot, and your right hand grabs the left elbow. If you don't have a tight enough half lotus. If you've got a tight enough half lotus, that right heel's going to plant with that heel to the belly button. Right hand's going to wrap around, and that right hand's going to grab the right big. You forward fold over that extended left leg. Left hand grabs the left foot, forehead to your shin. Holding this for 5 breaths. Inhale, head up. And then let's take our vinyasa. I love to pick up that leg to get the belly work. Plant the hands. Maybe you play with those knees to your chest. Belly work. Lifting the hips up. Shimmy those feet back. Take your vinyasa. Let's do that on the other side. Looking between the hands, say maybe a little prayer, belly's in, push yourself forward, and then the legs come through. Now remember, you can do this left foot, figure 4. I like to start out loving my little shin baby, especially on tight hip days. And when your hip feels like it's about as open as it's going to get, you play with trying to get your half lotus. Left heel to your belly button, left knee and hip forward. Now again, if you've got your half lotus isn't quite as tight, that right hand can hold the left foot and the connection we're looking for, and then you forward fold. If you've got a tight enough half lotus, that left hand's going to reach around behind and it's going to grab that left foot. Right hand reaches forward and grabs the right foot, forehead down to the shin. So you can be in figure 4 forward folding just like this. That's totally okay. It's going to open up your hip. This is a great pose if you have low back pain and pain around the sacrum. All right, let's try to lift those feet up. Bring those knees to your chest. See if you can bring them to the chest only using your belly muscles. Now shimmy those feet behind the hands. Hands press into the mat, hips lift up. Do your vinyasa. One more pose here. Look between those hands. Walk, step, jump through to a seated position. This one's called Tiryang Mukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana. I like to call it half hero's pose. It's a little easier. Right knee comes in, right foot, knee bends backwards. You want that right shin to the outside of the right hip. If you're falling over to the left a whole bunch, grab a blanket, grab a block, grab a couch cushion, something, and put it underneath that left hip. If you can, what I have to do is I have to roll that calf muscle out of the way, and that's generally enough to be able to get my right hip to be even with my left. You might also have to remove the flesh, i.e. the stuff under your butt. Now that left leg is reaching towards being straight. If it's not straight today, that's okay. This might be right where you stay. It's pretty intense for that right quad. Right knee actually is really intense for that right foot. If you want to juice it up a little bit, you forward fold. Maybe you grab your foot, your big toe. Maybe you reach around and grab a wrist. Again, Manju says it doesn't matter which wrist you grab. You just grab something. So inhale here and lift yourself up. It's another great opportunity to practice your belly work. So lift that left leg and lower, lift and lower. Maybe you play it a few times. And then when you're ready, we're going to transition into our vinyasa. Eventually, we'll have the belly work to lift up and the feet, everything comes up off the mat at the same time. Until we're there, the way that we work towards that is you lift yourself up, bring that left foot back and around, and take your vinyasa. Remember, your vinyasa can be down here at the knees, looking forward, high plank, low plank, inhaling, upward facing dog, exhaling, downward facing dog. Let's do Tiryang on the other side. Look between those hands. Maybe you step that right foot forward, left foot forward, bottom down. The right leg extends out. Left foot comes back into that half hero's pose. Again, I have to really roll the flesh out from my calf in order to get my hip. If you're still flopping over towards the right a whole bunch, grab a cushion or a block or something and put it underneath that right butt cheek. That's going to help to level out the hips, and it's really going to help you feel more stable. Eventually, those knees will stay together. Inhaling, you may stay right here. Forward fold, grabbing for that right foot or binding around it. Inhaling here, lift. Now look at that right foot and lift it up a few times. That's not really in the sequence. I just am really working on that core connection, so I love to do it. Excuse me. Now push those hips up and the hands down, and you're going to pick that right foot up, shoot it to the back of the mat, and take your vinyasa. Now we're going to come into the closing sequence. Looking between your hands, walk or jump those feet forward, bottoms down to the mat.
Abs. How can I forget abs? Boat pose. Let's do 3 of them. Feet planted onto the mat, hands reaching out and forward ever so slightly. Step number 1 is both feet on the mat. I've got a friend. Step number 2 is 1 foot, maybe 2 feet, working towards straight. Chest is proud for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cross that right knee over the left. Give it a squeeze. Now let go and see if you can hold it up there. Press those hands into the mat. Push down and lift something. Set it back down. That's 1. That lift is called uplitihi. Now you can come back to those knees, to those feet on the mat. 1 foot off, 2 feet off, both feet off. Legs straight for 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring those knees into your chest. Cross the left leg over the right. See if you can hold those knees into your chest without your hands. That's ab work. Now try to push down and lift something. This is my weaker side. And then set it. Woo! Last one. So, boat pose, 5 counts. We into your chest. Whichever leg is harder, put that one on top. So I'm putting my left leg on top. Really squeeze. See if you can hold those knees in. That's the key for upliti. Try to lift something. The primary series. Now, things like the wheel pose. Not wheel, excuse me, bridge pose. That's where your feet stay hips width distance. Make sure that your hands can touch your heels. You channel your inner, late 80s, early 90s workout video. Squeeze the glutes, lift the hips. This is a nice bridge pose. It's a good alternative for a back bend if you're nervous about back bending. Holding it for 5 breaths. Really lifting the hips, squeezing those knees together. Chin is up and proud. Try not to tuck the chin. That can be bad for the neck. Rolling yourself down. You can go right back to that bridge pose, or you can do a wheel pose. Hands plant, fingertips facing the shoulders. Really try to squeeze the elbows together. Belly goes in, tailbone lengthens down before you even lift up. On an inhale, you say a little prayer, and then exhale, you push yourself up. Holding it here for 5 long breaths. Working on a straight arm, straighter legs. And then when you're ready, bending those elbows together, coming back down to the mat. Catch your breath. Let's do one more. The mat, lift yourself up. Bending the elbows back, not up. The feet. Roll yourself up. We're going to skip it today. This is a beginner. And we're going to forward fold like we did at the beginning of the seated sequence. This is called Paschimottanasana. It's a nice counter to all those back bends. From here, we're going to lay back down, and there's technically several versions of a shoulder stand in the closing sequence. You're just going to do 1. So, come all the way down to the mat. Step 1, your hands just plant on the mat beside the hips and your feet straight up in the air. That's a nice way of getting the lactic acid that you built up during class back towards your heart. This is a modification of a shoulder stand. Step 2, we're going to go into shoulder stand. I like to enter shoulder stand through plow pose. So I lift my feet up overhead, shimmy, shimmy, shimmy those shoulders closer together, grabbing the hands and pressing the hands into the mat to help get my hips up a little higher. Then releasing the hands, holding the hips up as high as they went, lift one leg, then the other straight into the air. The key here for this shoulder stand is to have your chin up to protect the neck. Holding it for at least 5 breaths, maybe 10. those knees, slowly rolling out of this posture. Let's come into the counter pose, which is fish pose. Elbows onto the mat, hands underneath the sacrum, palms down. Rotate the shoulders forward, let the head go. If you want, you can lift those legs up like boat pose. Bending the knees, setting it all down. Now, if you want, you can do a headstand. If headstand's in your practice, go for it. If you're working towards headstand, here's a nice little drill that I like to do. In Ashtanga Yoga, for the closing series, you do a traditional supported headstand. So grab hold of opposite elbows, making sure that you can clasp hold of them. That keeps your elbows, shoulders width distance apart. The wider your elbows are, the more pressure that's on your neck, and I don't know about you, but I don't like lots of pressure on my neck. Letting go of your elbows, clasp your hands in front of you. That nice little triangle you just made, that's the perfect place for your head to go down. You want the top of your head on the mat, so maybe you bring your thumb between your eyebrows where your middle finger lands at the top of your head. That's what you're aiming to be on the mat. So remember that spot and plant that head right there. This is technically a headstand, so if you're nervous about headstands, just hang out right here. The next step is to come into downward facing dog legs. This is it's an inversion. You're still got weight, a little bit of weight on your head, not very much, and your body is over your head. Step 2 is you walk those knees closer to your chest. Maybe you pick up one leg, pick up the other leg. And then you just keep working your hips over your shoulders until you're in this little bitty tiny egg. And that might be right where you hang out until you get really comfortable with the idea of starting to straighten those legs. Now remember, straight legs, headstand, all that kind of stuff, that doesn't make yoga. What makes yoga is the practice. So whether or not you get your headstand today, that doesn't matter. Once you've got your headstand, you hold it for 5 to 10 minutes, then pike down slowly. Come into your child's pose. After your child's pose, you technically take another vinyasa. We're skipping it. That's the beauty of it being a beginner's Ashtanga class, right? Play with your asana. And then you put your left foot on top of it. If that's not happening, you can do a half lotus. Okay. Now we're going to practice the idea of lifting our lotus. So whether or not you've got feet lotus, doesn't matter. Pick up your knees, plant your those thighs, plant them into the ground, say a little prayer, and maybe we're going to work for 3 or 5 breaths where we pick everything up. Inhale, lift for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set it down. That's done with. Unwind those feet. Shake it out. And let's come into your Shavasana. Final resting pose. Let everything go. Legs out, hands up, relaxing here. Try to get at least a few minutes in this corpse pose. That's where all the benefits of your practice come together, where your fight or flight system, that parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, comes relaxing here in your Shavasana. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had fun. Maybe justify the Ashtanga yoga practice just a little bit. Stay tuned. There will be many more videos to come. I can't wait to see you. Go in peace. Namaste.